Hi, my name is Kai1. Today we're going to share with you guys, should you upgrade from the Canon EOS 70 Mark II to the EOS R7. So I have stuff I want to tell you, and this is my 70 Mark II. So why should you upgrade? So the Canon 70 Mark II is a 20 megapixel camera, and new camera is a 30 plus megapixel. So if you want to crop your image, maybe just crop in. If you like to crop your image, yeah, R7 is a better camera. And the R7 is a lighter camera compared to the 70 Mark II, because the 70 Mark II is crazy heavy. It's even heavier than the 5D series. So if you want a lighter camera, even with the adapter, EF2RF adapter, it's still lighter, maybe 200 or 300 grams lighter than the 70 Mark II without anything. So, and the next one, slightly better dynamic range, just slightly better, nothing dramatically different, just a little bit different under the ISO 400. Under ISO 400, dynamic range is just slightly better. I have lots of pictures, and I just try and just experiment with all the image, just a little bit, just one stop, or a little bit more than one stop. But if you raise your ISO, if you're shooting sports, you set your ISO to maybe 3200, and it's actually pretty much the same. The dynamic range is pretty much the same. You just have a little bit better dynamic range under ISO 400. Yep. So if you want better dynamic range, that depends what you are going to shoot. Overall better video feature and quality. Yeah, just like the R7 is just designed for kind of hybrid shooter. It want crazy video, not crazy, but usable video, because you have 4K 60 and unlimited 6 hours. No one will shoot 6 hours. You have almost unlimited recording time. You don't need to keep pressing your camera. But at a photography standpoint, actually it's pretty much the same. The autofocus, I know the autofocus is a little bit better, but if you have, it depends on what you are going to shoot. If you have lots of foreground and background, that kind of stuff, and lots of branches, and you're shooting some moving subject, well, the autofocus sometimes work, but sometimes it just don't just track something. It's tracking the object, but it's just not going to focus on there. I tried the kit lens at the retail store. It's just not going to work perfectly. And I also tried 100 to 500, that crazy white L lens, RF L lens. Yeah, it still doesn't track that well. So if you're going to shoot lots of maybe the birds or the moving subjects is behind something, there's some kind of foreground or complicated background, the RF system is actually I think it's pretty much the same compared to the old 70 Mark II. Just you need to manual control your focusing point if you want really accurate focusing performance. If you want the auto performance, auto select, you want to track your subject, the RF is slightly better, but depends on what you are going to shoot. Yeah, you need to try out by yourself. But I shoot mostly about some kind of event, music, event, show, so live performance, that kind of stuff, and I shoot in studio stuff. So we have studio lighting, that kind of stuff. So portrait, that kind of stuff, or some kind of product photography stuff. So actually, I think the autofocusing system is, yeah, I I don't need those crazy tracking performance. And if you need those tracking performance, like the live performance, the music event, that kind of stuff, I would rather use the maybe single point autofocus, and I just use this thumbstick to change my focus, because I can, yeah, I'm yeah, different shooting environment, different situation, different shooting style, just doesn't work for me. Slightly faster shutter speed, I think it's a little bit faster, 10 frames for the 70 Mark II and 15 frames for the R7. But if you're using the LPE6, the old LPE6 battery, you don't have the fastest 15 frames per second shutter speed. You need LPE, at least LPE6 and battery, and newer NH is just work perfectly. And image stabilization. If you are going to shoot moving subjects, I think this kind of stuff is useless. I think if you are going to use it on a tripod, use this. But if you are going to use some kind of maybe the 100 to 500 and you want handheld, actually I think it's still kind of useless if you are going to shoot photos. Yeah, use this. If you are going to shoot some kind of fast moving subject, the image stabilization, I think it's just useless, and it will just ruin your composition. But if you're going to handheld and shoot something still, you don't want to bring tripod, or I don't know. Yeah, it's there. Image stabilization, you can have a longer shutter speed, maybe 1 second, that kind of stuff, with a wider lens. But yeah, I think the image stabilization is more for the video part, not for the photo part. Yeah, it helps, but I think it doesn't change much. More customizable buttons in function. I think this is the special part about the R7, because the 70 Mark II, you can customize some few. You can customize this one, and you can customize what you want to do. You can just change a little bit stuff. Maybe the set button you set to change the image quality, the image size, or that kind of stuff. But this customize function, the button in function on R7 is dramatically, just lots of different functions. You can choose almost all the menus, and you can customize to all kinds of buttons you want. Yeah, more customizable button, and also the quick what's that? The quick menu, that menu. If you're using live view, the old stuff called live view, but R7, you have two the quick settings. You can customize all the quick settings on the left and right, so more customizable, and just you can customize your camera to fit your need. Now R7 have the Wi-Fi transfer. You can transfer file from your camera to your smartphone, and you can edit. But just a kind of rarely use that function because you transfer file from your camera to your smartphone. You just can't transfer JPEG. I don't know. Does Canon update or do some kind of software stuff? You can transfer raw file, but right now you just can transfer JPEG and just quick edit, a little tweak in Lightroom mobile device, that kind of stuff. So most of the time I just transfer all my files, just plug it into the computer, and yeah, the Wi-Fi is there. Depends on what you are going to do. Oh, and also the GPS. Some people say the R7 just take away the GPS, but actually you can use the Wi-Fi and connect to your mobile device, and yeah, the GPS will use the phone GPS and bake into the camera data, that kind of stuff. So GPS still, the function is still there, but you need to just connect with your smartphone. A longer eye cup. I don't know. It's called eyepiece, eye cup. This stuff. It's longer, definitely longer. The 70 Mark II. If you have a longer nose or fat nose, and you're going to put your eye, just use the eye cup. The monitor will be super duper dirty. Just moisture. all kinds of moisture are on the monitor. But the R7, the eye cup, the distance from your nose to your eye, the eye cup, it's a little bit deeper, so it's harder to just put your nose and just touch the monitor. And also another part I forgot, it's the R7 have the touch screen and the tilty flippy screen. The 70 Mark II doesn't have those, and doesn't even have the touch screen. So another plus for the R7. And now we're going to tell you some stuff why not to upgrade, because I'm still comparing these two cameras, and I think if you are going to just shoot photos, there are no such a big difference. Yeah, there are no really big difference between the 70 Mark II and R7. So, but if you're going to shoot videos, because maybe half, I shoot video half of the time, so that's a plus. But if you're just going to shoot photos, I think it's pretty much maybe 10% better, 20% better, but not 50% dramatically different. So yeah, if you have money, you can buy the R7, but I don't know. So I have some more about why not to upgrade. So yeah, I talked AF, not reliable. Yeah, just not reliable. If you want to just trust the autofocusing system on the R7, then most of the time it works in maybe simple, maybe clean background. But if you have 50 people in a concert or kind of stuff, yeah, it will just freak out. And it's harder to track or even focus to what you are going to focus. You need to choose different focusing selection, what the single point, that kind of stuff, and choose your focusing point by yourself. It just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So you need to play with the settings and figure it out by yourself. And electric shutter. Yeah, I think the electric shutter is totally unusable for moving subject. If you're shooting some kind of concert, maybe music event, you need to be totally silent. In museum, that kind of stuff, just people standing still, and you don't want any sound. The shutter, the silent shutter, the electric shutter will work, but I think most of the time people will just shoot a mechanical shutter, or the first curtain mechanical shutter. Yeah, 15 frames, it's still pretty good. It's still an upgrade from the 70 Mark II. Okay, but if you're going to use the 30 frame per second electric shutter for the moving subject, the rolling shutter is super duper terrible, just unusable. You can try it by yourself. If you don't trust me, you can try it. You buy it, try it by yourself. It's just unusable. No, the noise floor, I think it's pretty much the same. It's not cleaner, it just pretty similar compared to the 70 Mark II, the old 70 Mark II. It's pretty old. It's already 7-8 years. Yeah, it's pretty old. And the noise is still pretty much the same. If you raise your ISO, you will still get lots of noise. I think it's pretty much the same. Image quality, minor upgrade. Yeah, just slightly. R7 is just slightly better, but not that much. Just a little bit. Image quality, under ISO. Yeah, shutter. Another big problem I don't like about the R7 is the shutter sound is just terrible. I don't know, you can find the shutter sound online and listen by yourself. The sound is quieter than the 70 Mark II, because the 70 Mark II, you have the flippy, reflecting system. That mirror just floppy mirror. So the 70 Mark II is louder, but I think it's just more pleasing because the R7, the shutters sound, you have a higher pitch. You have that kind of cheap camera sound. If you use Canon cheap camera, the 600D, 700D, 800D, you won't hear almost identical sound. Just you have a higher pitch. You have more annoying sound, and it's just pretty clunky shutter sound. And also the R7 doesn't have the slower and the quieter mechanical shutter. Doesn't have this function. The 70 Mark II, you have let's see, I can show you the silent mechanical shutter. Oops. And you can hear it's more quieter and more low pitch, just lower pitch and unnoticeable. If you just quieter shutter speed, I think I don't know, the R7 doesn't have this function. You just have those crazy loud mechanical shutter, not crazy loud, crazy annoying mechanical shutter. And if you use pure mechanical shutter and the first curtain mechanical shutters, it just sounds totally the same. So you just can choose between annoying shutter sound or totally silent, but you need to use electric shutter and just crazy rolling shutter. So the shutter sound is just pretty annoying because 15 frames per second and you are going to keep hearing that crazy sound. It's just not pleasing. Okay, and about the buffer, some people say the buffer size on the R7 is pretty small, but actually it's pretty okay. You can shoot 15 frames per second over maybe 3 seconds. And if you want to clear the buffer to a UHS 1, one card, the slower card, not the USH2 card. The one card, you need 20 seconds to clear the full buffer. If you full the shoot, just keep shooting roll, and you full the R7 buffer in the camera, you need 20 seconds to totally clear the buffer. Just totally clear the buffer in the camera to transfer into the memory card. But if you use faster card, I think it will help. Will help a little bit, I think. But the buffer size is I think it's just pretty much the same. Because you just around 3 seconds, you can keep bursting your shutter 3 seconds before you fill out the entire camera buffer. Yep. So I think I need to do a conclusion, because I'm still planning to buy the R7, but it's just pretty confusing because the price drop, it's cheaper than the 70 Mark II launch price. It's cheaper than the 70 Mark II, and I just think Canon is just place the R7 in a different position than the 70 Mark II. The 70 Mark II is I can call it a pro body, but just with the crop sensor. But the R7 is definitely not a pro body with a crop sensor in it. It's just kind of like a more consumer product. So Canon will sell more, definitely. The R7 will sell more than maybe more than the 70 Mark II. I have no idea. Let's wait and see. But I think they put the marketing the R7 with different mindset. They just design the R7 with a different mindset. They want to put lots of stuff in there, just like a enthusiast kind of camera, but it's definitely not a pro body, because you still lack some, you just bad viewfinder, not the top-notch viewfinder, and just cut lots of corner that I want. But it's still a pretty good camera. So, but should you upgrade? This is still a question I'm figuring out. Should you upgrade from the 70 Mark II to the R7 if you just want to shoot photos? You guys can leave some comments below. This is what I thought after testing the R7 in the retail store. Just shoot tons of photos, tracking people, do some crazy the dynamic range test, noise test in store. Yeah, so easy conclusion. The image quality is pretty much the same. If you want to crop a little bit more because you have more image megapixel, yeah, buy the R7. But if you think your 70 Mark II, if you already own the 70 Mark II, you need to figure out what you are going to do. Did the 70 Mark II hold you back, or that kind of stuff? And will the R7 improve your image, capture more crazy moment because you have 15 frames per second mechanical shutter? I don't know, you need to figure out by yourself. But I don't know, maybe we need to wait for 5 more years to wait for the R7 Mark II, that kind of stuff. Just lower price, so leads to more consumer people that want these kind of consumer R7 camera. Yeah, pretty long video, but yeah, I'm still comparing and figure out, should I buy the R7? Leave a comment below. I will chat with you. I will reply all the comments. So yeah, that's all. 70 Mark II vs the R7. Should you buy it? I don't know. Figure out by yourself.